Among boxing fans, there is no consensus on who Tyson Fury really is. Some consider him a coward who is afraid of losing his legacy and as a result refuses to fight just anyone. Others are convinced that the Gypsy King is a money grabber stepping into the ring solely for enormous paychecks. Both sides have some validity in their arguments, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Fury is the best heavyweight of our era.
Steve's almost done here. Look at this. He's down. Cunningham is knocked out by Fury. Fury got the right in.
This time, one of the strongest boxers on the planet will face a terrifying and incredibly dangerous monster.
Maynard's phone to try to get a matchup with a
a fighter who, alongside Deontay Wilder, is recognized as one of the most powerful punchers of our time, a predator feared by every heavyweight in the UFC, and a great escapee from the world of MMA, Francis Ngannou. The evening of October 28th in Saudi Arabia promises to be truly heated, as these two entirely different giants will finally share the ring. For many of you, this fight may evoke some unpleasant emotions, as it may seem out of place in a rational world. On one hand, I agree with such sentiment, but on the other, I am confident that the fight will be much more spectacular and interesting more than 90% of heavyweight bouts. Francis Ngannou will have nothing to lose, and with his 50-ton punch, he'll likely go all in right from the start. What will come of it, we will find out in just a few days. But before that, I invite you to recall the full history of this showdown. Please take a seat and get comfortable, my friends. Ahead of you is the countdown to the Tyson Fury vs. Francis Ngannou fight. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and also leave a comment in 4 words. Now, let's get started. The life stories of Fury and Ngannou are as different as their appearances. Tyson grew up in a family where sport, specifically fistfights, had been the main pursuit for generations of men. Therefore, his development as a boxer was only a matter of time. Unlike many boxing stars, the Briton did not have a particularly rich amateur career with only 35 fights. However, he managed to win the National ABA Championship and a bronze medal at the Youth World Championship. Recognizing Fury's immense potential, his coaching team, led by his uncle, directed him towards the professional ranks, where he immediately began making a name for himself. The Brit effortlessly, and with a grace not typical of heavyweights, racked up one victory after another, although he had very few worthy opponents among his early victories. From 2013 onwards, Tyson finally began to break into the upper echelons of the sport, and just 2 years later, with a record of 24-0, he got the chance to fight the undefeated Vladimir Klitschko, who had held the title for over 5 years. In a drawn-out and not particularly aggressive fight, the Brit emerged victorious, becoming a champion in 3 different versions and then stepping away from boxing for almost 3 years. Francis Ngannou was born in Cameroon and spent his early life working in a sand quarry, and as his family struggled to make ends meet. At times, things were so tough that young Ngannou had nothing to write on in school because his parents couldn't afford to buy him a new notebook. Throughout the first 17 years of his life, the future fighter alternated between work and school. When his schooling ended, he focused solely on heavy labor to support his family. Despite the circumstances, Ngannou always had a dream: to become a boxer just like Mike Tyson. So one day, when Ngannou was over 20 years old, he decided to radically change his life. The story of how the champion made his way to Europe could be turned into a whole TV series with elements of thriller and drama. In the end, his efforts paid off and he found himself in France. Being essentially homeless, Francis met Fernando Lopez, a coach who changed his life. It was Lopez who saw an uncut diamond in Ngannou and convinced him that his calling as a predator wasn't in boxing, but in mixed martial arts. Under his guidance, and after a few years of training, this duo entered the UFC. But later, when Francis suffered his first career loss, they parted ways, and Ngannou went on his own path, starting a new winning streak. In 2020, each of the guys were pursuing their own path. Fury had a few years earlier completed the first of 3 iconic fights with Deontay Wilder, after which he managed to secure 2 wins against relatively unknown, undefeated boxers and earned a crucial rematch. At that time, the belts of the 3 major organizations were held by AJ, while the Bronze Bomber held the WBC title, which he had defended 10 times. Wilder, as Tyson, kept his undefeated record intact. The best heavyweight showdown was scheduled, leaving Tyson to finish the job in the 7th round.
This belt is the one that's evaded me over the years, and I've now finished off my collection, a big collection of every belt in boxing, I think tonight, and I just always believed that if he couldn't beat me when I was only 50% the man I am today, then he never had a chance tonight. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, and can't wait for the next fight, the rematch, hopefully, if he wants it.
So, how was Francis Ngannou doing during this time? In general, quite well. The Cameroonian was comfortably in the top 2 of his division, riding a 3-fight win streak with all victories coming by knockout, 2 of which were against former champions. However, Ngannou couldn't secure a title rematch with champion Stipe Miocic due to Miocic's trilogy fight with Daniel Cormier. The COVID-19 pandemic further delayed a decisive match between them, leaving Ngannou on the sidelines, waiting for his chance of fighting other contenders. One of these contenders was Jairzinho Rozenstruik, a Surinamese kickboxing specialist who had climbed to the top of the rankings with a notable win over Alistair Overeem.
It's over. Rozenstruik is out. Ngannou out bad. Out cold.
2 low kicks to the inner thigh, that's all the new Predator Tamer had in him. Without hesitation, Ngannou unleashed a massive windmill and connected with a left hook, followed by a relentless flurry, ultimately finishing his opponent. Pure violence from Francis.
Honestly, I don't know what is up next. I think I'm gonna let my manager talk with the UFC and see how it goes and see what they say. It's very confusing because right now, yes, we know that Stipe gonna fight DC, but the question is when. This is May, beginning of May, and we don't know when. And I have to wait that fight and expect that the winner doesn't get injured or get hurt. Then he'll go take some rest, go maybe vacation, and then come back maybe after 2-3 months, and then go to training camp. I will end up with maybe another 9 months or 1 year again.
As you can see, Ngannou's situation was not so straightforward, especially considering that the championship bout had not even been announced at that point. Disagreements with the UFC had already begun to surface due to this. Miocic and Cormier had their bout in August, with Miocic retaining his title and securing the trilogy. Now, as Francis has stated, Stipe took a brief break and resumed training only in the winter of 2021, with the title fight scheduled for late March, resulting in Ngannou waiting for almost a year. On the flip side, he had plenty of time to prepare and showcase the best version of himself, which he did. In this fight, Ngannou displayed his best version. He was quick, reacted to everything, even worked skillfully on his feet, and defended takedowns with ease. It could have ended in the first round, but somehow Stipe survived a barrage of inhuman punches, only to be hit with a left hook that dimmed the lights in his eyes. We had a new champion.
This has always been my own dream to deal with my childhood. I think I always felt like I needed this to be in the first stage, as I promised myself 20 years or so ago, to become a champion, a world champion, to step and stand in the first step to prove those people who were looking at me like I was nothing, that I was something. You know, I didn't just have a chance as them. I was just a kid who...
While one finally achieved what he had been working towards his whole life, the other was set to quickly defend the newly won title. It may not have happened as quickly as desired, but Fury managed to secure an important third fight with Wilder, marking his first title defense in his career. The titles that the Gypsy King took from Klitschko were never defended. Even before the trilogy was completed, the two elite heavyweights showdown had become the most anticipated event of 2021. Over the course of the two previous fights, the guys had studied each other's styles extensively, making the final battle the most dynamic and entertaining of them all. The Bronze Bomber applied serious pressure, attacking the body and clinching with Fury, while the champion responded with combinations and secured a knockdown in the third round. Wilder was ready for this and took the next 3 minutes with a score of 10-7.
So he's doing a lot of pushing.
The Brit barely managed to stand on his feet. Realizing that the opponent was still full of strength, the Gypsy King switched to active exhaustion in the clinch, while the opponent rarely, but damn much, exploded with single blows. By the 10th round, Deontay's strength was already running out, and he visited the flooring again. But after that, he shocked the audience by taking the ending. This burst of energy was Wilder's last, and in the 11th segment, he was completely exhausted and missed a knockout by a right-hand punch.
Gypsy King Tyson Fury!
You go swimming and you're going to get wet. You mess with fire long enough, you'll get burnt, you know. I've had 3 fights with the biggest puncher in the history of my sport, in my division. And he caught me, he caught me twice in the 4th round. But I was never thinking, oh, this is over. I was thinking, okay, good shot, but I will get you back in a minute. And I did.
Tyson took a well-deserved break, and during that time, Francis returned to action. He had defended his title for the first time, and interestingly, against a highly familiar opponent, Cyril Gane, another heavyweight MMA genius developed in the gym of Fernando Lopez. At one point, the Frenchman even trained with Ngannou, but their paths soon diverged, and Gane became not only Lopez's top student, but also the one who had to avenge the betrayal. Cyril burst onto the UFC scene with a modest 3-0 record, but quickly racked up a 7-fight win streak to challenge the champion. The battle between the two former clubmates was set to determine it all. Due to sluggishness, largely attributed to a knee injury, Ngannou couldn't compete with this athletic and incredibly agile fighter in the stand-up game. Gane easily landed strikes from various angles, keeping a safe distance from Francis's power punch. Losing to the first 2 rounds, the Predator authored the biggest plot twist in MMA history and began to wrestle his opponent openly. Through takedowns, something the champion had never done before, he secured 3 out of 5 rounds, retaining his championship belt.
Actually, for the first 2 rounds, I was still, I couldn't find my spot, couldn't move properly, and was little concerned basically by the end of the 2nd round. And then something came to my mind. I remember all the support that I'd been receiving from my country, and now I'm like, I'm not letting them down.
By the way, at that time, the disagreements between the champion and the promotion became apparent to everyone. Francis wanted more money than the UFC was offering him, and he had other plans to test his skills in boxing, claiming it had always been his dream. This rhetoric clearly didn't sit well with the company's president, Dana White, who didn't even step into the octagon to present the belt to the new champion. Adding fuel to the fire was Tyson Fury, who had been challenging Francis ever since he became the champion.
This is the message to Francis Ngannou and the UFC guys. Look, you want some of this Gypsy King money, you know where to come and find it. You want some of this Gypsy King power, I'll give it you. Anytime, any place, anywhere, 7 days a week, and twice on a Sunday, you big ugly dosser.
Generally, it's not advisable to take all of Fury's challenges seriously, as he throws them to practically anyone and everyone. Shortly after Ngannou's first title defense, Tyson decided to return to action, this time against the mandatory challenger Dillian Whyte. But while the Briton was sorting out his issues with Wilder, Whyte knocked out Povetkin and became the WBC interim champion, setting up a fight with the King. However, things weren't going well for this matchup. Tyson's co-promoter, Bob Arum, insisted on a first split of 80-20 in his client's favor, as opposed to 55-45, which was fair to the interim champion. More influential than Dillian's team, Arum's people managed to tip the scales in their favor, and all that was left for the villain to do was not to attend the press conferences and remain silent on social media.
From Dillian Whyte.
Dillian was quite active but not very effective. All his powerful single punches missed, and the best punches remained in Fury's arsenal as he controlled the course of the fight. Whyte simply couldn't reach his taller and more agile opponents. The challenger's only hope was landing a significant left-hand shot, but those dreams were shattered in the 6th round when Fury KO'd him with a single punch. Immediately after his victory, the champion called Francis Ngannou into the ring, who was present at the arena at that time.
I want to bring in Francis Ngannou. Francis, come here, ESPN.
Is this your next fight?
I'm the boxing heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight champion. He's in great shape. Look at the muscles on him.
And we're going to find out who is the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
However, at the press conference right after the fight, Tyson mentioned that he wanted to retire after the last time, but was now definitely leaving.
I fought Deontay Wilder 3. I was in my house in Vegas and I said to Paris, I said, this is going to be the last fight, babe. I just don't want to do it anymore. And she said, yes, I'm happy. Let it be the last fight. And then after the fight, I said to her in the shower, I said, it's definitely the last fight. There's no more of this. And then I was happy with that decision. And I get a call from Frank saying, you know, we can do a homecoming fight at Wembley. And I was like, I said to Paris, I said, I've got to go one more time. I've got to get the old boots out again. I'm very happy with my career. I've won it. By the way, I do take a lot of pride in this, and I know pride's not the best thing to be, but...
The moment looked very touching, but it was clear that the Brit was not leaving forever, as soon he would step back into the ring, and the only question being against whom. The fight with White took place in April, and in August, the Gypsy King announced that he was ready to return to action to complete the trilogy with Derek Chisora. This fight shocked everyone, not least because Alexander Usyk was supposed to get his chance at a title unification bout, but he was passed over, and instead they took the veteran Chisora with just one behind him. The meeting went exactly as it should have been. Chisora couldn't impose his usual pressure and kept getting tangled up in clinches or simply couldn't land punches, when Fury unleashed rapid combinations and enjoyed himself thoroughly. The difference in speed between boxers was too great for Chisora to counter, so all he did was absorb punches, continuing to move forward. In the 10th round, the challenger began to take too many hits, which didn't sit well with the referee, who decided to stop the fight, a decision Chisora generally agreed with. After an unspectacular victory, Fury boldly challenged Alexander Usyk, who was sitting in the front row, and many thought their bout was inevitable.
Where's Alexander Usyk, the rabbit? Hey, rabbit! Usyk, you're next, little bitch. You're next. You are next. Me and you, Usyk, are next. I already done one Ukrainian Klitschko, didn't I? And I'll do you as well, gappy teeth. You ugly little man.
Somewhere, Francis Ngannou shed tears of frustration. His negotiation with the folks at the UFC had been ongoing for months without any progress. The greatest MMA fighter of all time, Jon Jones, had moved up into the heavyweight division, and they offered Ngannou $8 million for a fight with him, but even that colossal sum was turned down, with Francis citing that he could make much more in boxing. Meetings between Ngannou and the top brass of the UFC occurred almost daily and continued until January 2023, when Francis announced that his contract had expired and he was leaving the UFC. The heavyweight champion was leaving the league, an unprecedented decision. Ngannou burned with the desire to fight Fury and was looking for a way to make it happen, while Fury added fuel to the fire by ignoring the existence of Usyk.
Francis Ngannou, I know you're out of contract with the UFC. You want to earn some big boy money? Come see the Gypsy King, and let's do a big fight for the baddest MF on the planet. Francis Ngannou, Big Mush, I'm your daddy. I'm the daddy, me. I'm the baddest man on the planet, and I'll give you the best hiding you've ever had, you big dosser. Sign the contract, you big stiff idiot.
Meanwhile, Fury didn't take any concrete actions, and Ngannou slowly rejected the best offers from the leading MMA leagues on the planet. The Predator turned down deals with ONE Championship, Bellator, and even bare-knuckle boxing. Soon it became clear that there was only one somewhat suitable option left, the PFL, and we learned about his signing from the news. Ngannou not only became a fighter in the league, but also received the position of a representative for the future PFL Africa segment. However, the MMA community continued to mock Francis because he still missed out on the huge earnings he could have made in the UFC and had yet to secure a single fight, especially against Tyson Fury. At the same time, Fury was playing mind games with Usyk's team, dictating potential earnings however he pleased. When the Ukrainian grew tired of this and declined the fight, Fury began to proclaim himself as the most fearsome heavyweight, continuing to challenge Ngannou and Jon Jones, with whom he had a minor social media feud with.
How about this? How about I fight Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou on the same night. How about that? That's how much I value them two bums. Get up!
Dana White tried to seize the opportunity and even sent a contract to Fury for a fight with Jones. However, nothing came of it, naturally. Essentially, both Francis and Fury found themselves in a precarious situation, with Fury declining a fight against Alexander Usyk. The scenario in which Tyson and Ngannou would actually fight seemed completely unrealistic until we were suddenly informed that the fight was happening. The World Heavyweight Boxing Champion would face the former UFC champion on October 28th, following professional boxing rules in Saudi Arabia. Was this actually happening? It was incredibly difficult to believe that such a fight could even take place, but special thanks to the government of Saudi Arabia, which sponsored this exciting encounter. Not long ago, as confirmation that the fight was indeed taking place, we had an official press conference in London where the future opponents came face to face.
Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen, but what I do know for sure is that I'm going to be out there hunting for that guy's head to take it off. So I can guarantee you that.
And I get to knock out him. He's a good looking lad, I do like him. Probably got a big core as well, remember that, Francis? However, it's unlucky for him that he has to come across me.
If you know where I came from, you don't have to ask that question.
So never underestimate anybody, and people are like, especially the f***ing media, they're like, oh, Francis doesn't have a chance.
As soon as we learned the Saudi Arabian authorities decided not to spare any expenses, in addition to the Fury and Ngannou fight, decided to organize a fight between the Brits and Alexander Usyk in December or January. It's clear that the Gypsy King takes Ngannou seriously, but will this backfire? And so we've reached the end. For me, and for all boxing fans, this fight seems strange and unnatural, something that shouldn't be. Many say they won't even tune in because it's already clear who will win. Yes, Fury undoubtedly has all the advantages, but Francis Ngannou has already shown the world that he knows how to fight for what he wants and surprises everyone. He's an incredibly determined guy, and that trait has brought him to where he is now. Most likely, the Predator won't be able to win, but he'll definitely give it his all and compete with one of the best heavyweights of our time on his own turf. And there's absolutely no shame in watching something like that.